Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you all are tuned in because we are excited, girlfriends. Where are my girlfriends and girlfriends tea? Put your comments in. Let me know you're here. Where are the girlfriends on YouTube? Put your comments in. Let us know you're here. Where are the girlfriends? All righty. Well, I've got some in here with the studio with me. I see somebody is already commenting, but without further ado, I'm going to bring in the girlfriends. Come on in the room, Pamela Champ, girlfriend Pam. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing today?
Great. Happy to have you here. Come on in the room, girlfriend Joyce.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. And Myra.
Good
Welcome,
morning,
welcome,
girlfriend.
welcome.
Good
Well, are
morning,
y'all ready?
girlfriends.
All right, girlfriends. We got the comments coming in already, but I'm not going to show them until we bring the queen of media up in here, up in here. Come on in the room. April Woodard.
Hey,
We're happy to have you here with us.
Good
thank
morning,
you.
April.
Hi, ladies. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so excited
Good
about our
morning.
little chat today.
Oh, and we are
Mm,
equally excited, right, girlfriends?
yes.
Yes, good morning,
Yes.
We
April.
are ready for April. So, what do? We want to welcome you to Girlfriends Tea. Thank you for joining us, April, for a cup of tea.
Thank you.
Well, ladies, I'm enjoying, if anybody wants to know, and of course you do, inquiring minds want to know, I'm enjoying Uniquely Golden from the Girlfriends Tea brand. And I know, Myra, you have Unapologetically Berry.
Yes,
All righty. So
delicious.
we're going to get right into it with April. And girlfriends, if you have a question for April, feel free to put it in the chat box or a comment. And those who are watching, I'm going to be flashing your comments. So we're going to get right to the interview. And we'll be back with the girlfriends, April. They'll be back at
Okay.
the end because that is what we do. Well, I'm honored to have you here. I just have to say that.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here as well because we met some time ago when you were in the Arctics competition,
Mhm.
Angela Reddick's competition. And
Absolutely.
so we've, connected ever since then. So it was a
We
wonderful encounter.
have. And I would see you. I was like, April, I'm doing it. You said, okay, I've heard that before. And I finally did it. But let me tell y'all about April. April is an Emmy nominated co host of Coast Live, which is a daily lifestyle show on WTKR in Southeastern Virginia, which is right here where we are. She also serves as an assistant professor at the Scripps Howard School of Journalism at Hampton University in Virginia. Her body of work has been distributed on social media, broadcasts, web, and other platforms. She was a correspondent on the nationally syndicated magazine Inside Edition for 15 years. She was also on BET and BET International Networks. She hosted shows such as Mag Swag, Music Around the Globe, and covered the Oscars, the NAACP Image Awards, BET Awards, etc. Girlfriends, I'm going to swing my baton.
Oh,
Well, it's really my pom pom, but I'm a former majorette, April. So
oh,
I
I
call
love
it my baton. I'm going to ring my baton for April. So we have some people chiming in and they're
it.
saying good morning.
Good
Izzy is
morning.
saying good morning. Good morning, girlfriends. We got
Hi,
a
good
welcome
morning.
Gerald. And then somebody's saying hello to Myra. So Myra, Myra is
Your
the
cousin.
song for a second there. Myra's getting hers in. Well, without further ado, anyone, if you have questions for April while we're live, put it in the chat and in the comments. And if we can get to it, we will. But it is our goal to do it. So, April,
Yes.
we're going to get right to it because I got a lot for you. So, first, when you consider your career path,
Mm.
how would you describe your path to becoming a career journalist? Was it something that you always knew that you strategically prepared for, or did it just fall in place because of what God revealed to you?
Well, my parents were really influential and or demanding, you can say. And they kind of like told us what we were going to do and kind of guided us. I was a ballet dancer and I was an actress. So I really liked performing and being on. And so my dad kind of thought that being a broadcast journalist would be good for me because I was outgoing, I wasn't shy, those types of characteristics. Plus, I was naturally nosy, as I say, or curious is a nicer term. And so, really, since eighth grade, I have said that I want to be a network journalist or work on a national TV show. And so, I would describe it as somewhat unexpected And the reason why I say that is because things really happen very quickly for me, and then they slow down. And so the quickness was unexpected and the slowdown was unexpected. In addition, I came back home from New York 10 years ago, and I became a assistant professor at Hampton University. I am now at Norfolk State University as a visiting professor and special assistant to the Department of Advancement, or the Vice President of Advancement. So I have the connection with Norfolk State. I love me some Hampton and Dr. Harvey, but I also wanted to come to Norfolk State and make it really full circle. Didn't expect to come back home like I did, but people who knew my dad, who was president of Norfolk State from 75 to 97, know that he passed a few years ago. And so when he started declining in his health, we moved back home. I continued to travel to New York and work for Inside Edition. I would travel weekly. So I would leave on Sunday after service, because we started a new church about 9 years ago, Favor Nation. I would leave after church on Favor Nation on Sunday, and then I would report in New York City or wherever they would have me travel to, and then I would fly back to Virginia on Friday. I did that for an entire summer. And so that was me continuing to try to keep the national profile and being on a national show. But then my dad's death, my dad declined in health, and it kind of made me have to stay in the Hampton Roads area.
You know what? That's the sacrifice. That is the sacrifice that you did, especially in coming home. Like I said, full circle. I can relate to that because I came home from DC, although I wasn't there permanently to care for my parents. But you know, you're always polished. Everything's good, and I love your humor. But do you have any comical on the job stories along the way that you want to share? Maybe one at least.
Let's see. Okay, here's one. So this happened a few years ago when I was hosting with Cheryl Nelson, who launched the show with me 7 years ago. She was the original host of Coast Live. And so, you know, I'm always doing my makeup and my hair, and often it's very, very rushed. And so I had a hair clip in my hair. And there is a producer / camera person, Rob Burlingame, who, you know, who admires me, but sometimes he thinks I'm doing fashion forward stuff. He didn't know that that was not a hair clip that you wear on air. And Cheryl didn't know. And so I'm up there with a hair clip. And of course, I get a text while I'm on, and people are like, "You still have a hair clip in your hair?" And I'm like, "Girl, no, I went through the whole first block with the hair clip right in the front."
No.
And then I ended up taking a picture with my co-host and Rob Burlingame, who was on the set with us, who are all like this because they didn't know it was not, you know, me being fashionable.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I want you to know that your husband is in the house.
Oh,
He
hey.
says, "Here you go. Hey, boo. I see you looking fine up there."
Oh, thank
Here
you.
he
He
is
did my
right
lighting.
here.
So
Yes. I love that. And I think he added another comment. So he's letting you know that he's here supporting his boo. And I absolutely love that as well.
All right, Pastor Bay. That's what
right.
I call him, Pastor Bay.
Okay, Pastor Adrian, we're going to get to him because I got a little clip this
Yes.
fun. Yeah, I love it. We'll find out more about you. But now I want to know about this because you covered the red carpet for BBC and the Oscars. So you're used to doing media, but are there certain rules of engagement with celebrities in covering red carpet events?
Yeah, there really are. And it's funny. I try to keep that stuff toned down when I'm here because it's a whole different world when you're in New York or in LA. It really is whoever is the most aggressive will get what they need. And oftentimes, you know, celebrities, if they're in a rush or they come to the red carpet late, they are just ushered by and you may not get any sound with them. And so there's a lot of yelling that goes on. Even, you know, you can't return to the station without anything. If they say you need to get Brad Pitt, if they say you need to get, you know, whatever John Legend or whatever the celebrity is, J-Lo, then you need to get some kind of engagement with them, even if it's them turning around and saying, "Hey," that is something. But in order to get that, you got to yell. I just remember, you know, being on a red carpet. I don't know what event it was, but Brad Pitt was there. And I just needed him to look at my camera because there was no chance I was going to get an interview with him. And so I was like, "Brad Pitt." And I love Brad Pitt. And he turned around and waved. And so that was, you know, pretty much all that I could do. But it's also about creating moments. And I share this with my students a lot. when I did cover the Academy Awards, it was a while back when I was working with BET, and Monique was nominated for Precious. And so Sandra Bullock was there, and Sandra Bullock's movie, The Blind Side, was very popular at the time. And so I was talking to the young man who played the actor on The Blind Side, and I cannot remember his name right now, but I was talking to him and I saw Sandra Bullock in the background. And I was like, Sandra, I'm talking to your co-star, AKA your son. Give us a moment. And it's kind of funny because I think it's on my reel, and my family makes fun of me all the time. Give me a moment. But that's what it's about. It's about that aha moment, or that opportunity where you bring two people together who weren't necessarily there together and recreate something that happened on TV or something that happened in the movies. And so, yeah, there is a culture to handling red carpets. And I don't want to talk too long, but when Timberland came to Norfolk State recently, I had those moments, and I was trying to be Professor Woodard, but at the same time, I was being Correspondent April, and I knew I needed to get this interview with Timberland. And so I just kind of was like, I think people were probably surprised of how aggressive I was, but I got the interview, and that's the bottom line. So apologies to anybody who got bumped, but had to get that interview.
Well, your NSU alum Gerald laughed out, said, "Laugh out loud." Wow, that's right. You got to do what you got to do.
I was talking to the head of communications. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I hope I'm not stepping on your toes. I'm trying to be polite, because academia is way different than entertainment journalism. I mean, you can't leave without the interview, and you go up there and approach people and try to do whatever you can. And in the moment, you're not, always like, yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and being polite. You're just kind of like, I got to get this interview. Okay, let's go over here, type of thing. So
right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I'm glad you shared that, because I thought it was all like set up, like,
No.
here, April, this is where you're going to be, and these are your celebs that you're going to talk to.
I thought so too, girl, until I did it for Inside Edition. And most times we would not be first on the carpet. Like Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, Extra, they may have negotiated, a really good position, and we may not have negotiated, or we may have decided the last minute that we were going to cover it. And so it was like, really, really hard trying to get the interviews. Or if you go to the Met Gala, which is the Oscars of the East Coast, you see that there are so many people, and they have all of the media cordoned off. So unless like the celebrity, or unless you talk to their publicist or their stylist, and you can say, hey, whatever their stylist's name is, or hey, Beyonce, then, they would come over. So I worked with a friend of mine who knew all of the supermodels, Kevin Harry. He's a producer at Inside Edition, and he knows everybody, Naomi, all of them. And so he'd be able to call them by name, and we would 1-2 punch. So he would call them by name, they'd come over, and I'd do the interview. So,
when you were talking, April, I was reminded, I was in DC a couple of months ago, and I was waiting to get my car. I was leaving actually from Salamander, which used to be the Orient, fabulous hotel.
yes.
And out of nowhere, it was just me and 3 other ladies. We were out there. Patti LaBelle walked out the car. I couldn't believe it. Patti LaBelle, I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I was like, and then I just had to know him. I said, hey, Patti. And she said she waved, but she kept going. Let me tell you, I went for it like you did. She got past me, and I told someone, I said, that's Patti. I said, I want to talk to her. I thought the girl was with her. She wasn't. She said, go do something. So I said, I'm telling you, I don't know if he's going to see this. I said, I know Lavoria's face. And she turned around. She turned around. I got her attention. I said, I know Lavoria's face. She said, I love him. I said, I do too. And then I kind of, slid up to her.
So
and then I asked her.
That's exactly what it's about. You created a moment, Sabrina. I have a Patti story too.
Yeah.
You want to hear it? You can ask me, but I want to make sure you get to all.
No, I want to hear it.
Okay, so we were at NABJ, which is the National Association of Black Journalists in Philly, of course, Patti's town, and they gave us exclusive tickets to the Patti LaBelle concert. And my husband and I were there, and my husband is a lot more reserved than I am. Okay, we'll say reserved. And so, unless he has access, he doesn't want to disrupt anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm the kind of person who's like, I need to be up in there. That's where I belong. whether it's right or wrong. So Patti LaBelle had finished performing, and I saw a door open to backstage. It was a very small, intimate setting. And we went through the door. I was like, come on, babe, do you want to meet her? I'm going to introduce you to her. And we went through the back door, and right there was Patti. And we were shocked because we didn't expect her to be so close to the door. And I was like, hi, Miss Patti, how you doing? This is my husband. And he was like, oh my gosh, we are totally not in a place where we're supposed to be. We could get arrested, all kinds of things. But we had a moment with Patti. He met Patti LaBelle. She was all wonderful and very nice. And, you know, I think you sometimes have to create moments like that. Don't get arrested.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But Lavora says she is very much people oriented. So if you get close enough, she'll talk to you.
Right.
But we're going to segue to something a little bit more serious because of course, I researched you and saw Conversations in Chaos. But I saw you when you were going live during that time, during COVID. So I saw some of your interviews. So during the height of COVID, you started your talk show, Conversations in Chaos. And I tell you, you pivoted quite well, like most journalists, but you pivoted quickly. So I watched the interview with Dr. Beverly Daniel Tatum, and she candidly addressed racism around the public murder of George Floyd. I think she's a psychologist, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that was a traumatizing murder. And it was indeed a tipping point for people, including me, to go out and protest in the streets.
Right.
The world was traumatized by it. I'm going to tell you, April, I have never in my life, unfortunately, some people may say I might have lost my black card, but I never in my life wanted to march or protest. I couldn't even watch. I still haven't watched it. I can't. Yeah. I'm totally traumatized because for me, my safety net is nothing's going to happen to me in broad daylight unless it's a terrorist attack. Like nobody, most criminals don't want to be caught. So if I'm around people in daylight, I feel safe. You know, although I trust God, but I feel safe. But to see a man actually lose his life in real time, slowly at that, it fired me up to the point where I had to get out and march. I was angry. I was livid. I can't describe it. So how did it impact you and the world of journalism?
Wow. I could talk an entire show about that, but it really impacted especially Black journalists because we are trying to be balanced. We're trying to, tell the story and allow the public to become vigorous. However, it just hit so close to home. And I was in a situation because, it was also during COVID where I needed to say something about it. It wasn't enough. And I needed some understanding. So the first episode that I did was with a psychologist to the stars. And because I really wanted to understand where we were and what was going on. And then Dr. Tatum, I had interviewed her for Black History Month event that aired on Hulu or for the employees of Hulu. And we also had done it for another event. And I just know she was a wonderful resource. And I learned so much by interviewing her. I wanted people who watched me to understand, my ally friends, my African-American friends, whatever friends I had, to understand what was at the core of this issue and how long this has been an issue that African-Americans have been fighting with. And so she was able to break it down in real simple terms. Like if you didn't get it after she broke it down, you just weren't going to get it. And so it was a tough time. It was a hard time, being at home, although for me, it turned out into a blessing because, my family got tighter. Our relationship with God got tighter. My children became very, very close. As a family, we became close because it was just us in the house. But then, the downside was what was going on in society and how that trauma doesn't really go away. And so I think it's still something that we're all dealing with, but it was very hard. I was blessed in the sense that I was not working for an outlet where I had to cover those pieces. So I was working for Coast Live, and we do fun, happy stories, and we didn't touch on it at all. But still, I had that need to have an outlet and need to talk. I talked to lawyers. I talked to Marlon Wayans, who's a friend of mine, just to see how he processed it and how he was doing. So I just really wanted to reach out and talk to my friends, kind of like you're doing now, just to see, how we're doing. How you doing, girl?
Yes.
And so that's what I did with Conversations in Chaos.
It's a fabulous show. I loved it. I'm gonna get some advice from you. I love I love the setup. I love everything about it. And especially this clip we'll see next. But before we do that, April, I had no idea. Like I said, I was researching everything about you. I had no idea you were there in New York for 9/11.
Yes, I look much different, long hair.
Yeah, long hair.
I had just had my son. He was a year old, and it was terrifying because when you're on the scene, you don't have all the information that they have back at the station. And so, when I first went out, they sent me out as soon as the first plane hit, and they thought it was a small private plane. And of course, a small private plane, you're not thinking it was necessarily terrorism. And there is a moment when I realized it was terrorism, and it was captured on TV. I was doing what's called a stand-up, and I'm holding my tapes under my arm. The building one of the buildings has exploded, and I'm around the corner from it, but you can see all of the debris and the smoke is starting to come into the shot. And I basically say, something just happened and it looks like it's snowing outside. I didn't know what was happening because I was right around the corner. I just heard a huge explosion and saw a lot of people running. And at that point, my husband had texted me. We had two-way pagers back then, so we didn't have the phone like we have now. And he said, this is bigger than it looks. You need to get out of there. You have a 1-year-old son. And at that moment, I had to make a decision about, is this job more important to what is waiting for me at home? And sorry about that. I was missing for 2 hours because no one had any contact with me because all the phones and everything went out. The pay phones didn't work. I was downtown. I had to walk, 60 blocks to get back to Inside Edition. And so my parents were calling. My husband was calling. He went home because he thought he had to raise, our son alone. And because there was no, the next building collapsed and they had no contact with me. What happened was I ended up getting in a police car with a police officer who started driving backwards because they were too close to the scene. And he got out and started running and left me in the back seat. Of course, I wasn't thinking, because I've never been in the back seat of a cop car. You cannot open it from the inside. So I'm banging on the wall. He comes back. He lets me out. I don't even know who that officer is, but therein began me running to, Midtown, which is 57th Street and 11th, where my offices were located. So, yeah.
Your husband, Pastor Adrian, said it's still a difficult memory for your family. And I can hear it in your voice. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I saw it. I couldn't, nobody. I mean, all the thick smoke, just to know that it was more than smoke. It was, things. I don't want to say what it was. We know what it was. All in that. It was a very scary moment. And so I'm happy for everyone who survived. And of course, we mourn those who did not, and grateful for your service and your attentiveness, and to your family first, to put your life first and your family first is so important in those situations. You'd be surprised what people would do to capture a scene. So,
I did it. I was trying to get inside the building. I was trying to get inside the tower. In fact, my coworker was in there. He was getting video of people coming down the stairs. But right when I got there, no one was really there, and they hadn't really cordoned off the area. In fact, I got the first interview with Mayor Giuliani when he arrived on the scene. So I was there very, very early. Yeah, I
saw that, and you got in there. You got in there with that mic. So I said, April did her thing to get the comment.
I couldn't have come home without it because that's the rule. You got to get the interview. No matter how tough.
Get something. That's right. Right. So your husband, Pastor Adrian, founded Favor Nation. I visited his site at favornation.org, and I'm going to put that banner up, and saw that your church offers ministry to the youth, singles, seniors, married couples, and more. But what caught my attention was a podcast. I tell you, I like how y'all did that with the overlays. I'm going to get some suggestions. What caught my attention was that podcast about married couples, pet peeves specifically, and this was you and your pastor. So let's take a look at one with you and Pastor Adrian.
Okay.
So it's good. Y'all got to go. I'm gonna put it back. Y'all got to go to the site, check it out.
Okay, we go.
All of my pet peeves with April really revolve around one subject. It's just sleeping. Okay? So you can just trace everything back to her desire to really be asleep. But this one in particular is an interesting one because it's an emerging one. And so April is beautiful during the day, beautiful by day, right? But at nighttime, April talks in her sleep.
Oh, I do.
She talks in her sleep. And look, these aren't good talks. They ain't the type of talks that you'd be like, okay, all right, when we wake up in the morning. It ain't that type of talk, no. April has nightmares, and she talks during her nightmares. Just 2 nights ago, I woke up screaming because there was a person coming in our room, according to April. It's a little girl who was trying to kill us.
Well, she wasn't trying to kill us. I don't know that she was trying. She reached her hand out.
You'll have your moment to talk in a second. Okay. When this really first started happening, it happened many, many years ago. 20 years ago, the very first one.
Pray for me, y'all.
The very first time it happened to me, we were in the room sleep, and she says, "Stop. This is me. Satan? Satan?" I said, "What?
I rebuked him.
Is he in here?"
No.
It was dark in there. Come on, you can't just say that. You can't just say Satan. She was rebuking him in her dream, but man, all I heard was Satan. That's the part I woke up on was Satan. Come on, pray for me. How can I live every night when I go to bed? I'm apprehensive now. I slide under the covers like,
who's she gonna be
what's
talking
gonna happen
to tonight? That's true.
Y'all watching TV. I'm watching April.
That's true.
Pet
And
peeve.
wow.
I love it. Y'all watching TV and I'm watching April.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead. I have vivid dreams. I really do. And fortunately, I know how to rebuke if Satan is in the dream. I know how to rebuke people, or some of them are pleasant, but some of them, have me doing active stuff. I've reduced the amount of TV that I watch before I go to bed. I find that often helps too. So, did you have a question?
yes, well, let me see. I think somebody may have a question, but before I get to that, you didn't get your chance to share your pet peeve. So what's your pet peeve? Because that was his.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what was mine because it changes.
Okay.
I think there were a multitude of those that I tried to drop during that episode, and one of them was cooking. And I don't know. I did cook when my children were younger. I know how to cook. I pretend that I don't know how to. But one of them is like asking for food later in the night, I think it was, or you cook something and then nobody eats it and then everybody's hungry. And so we went through this whole phase of where and we're trying to eat healthy. And so I had to change and learn how to cook vegan food, which, I cook collard greens and macaroni and cheese and stuff like that, fried chicken. And so, they didn't like it. I don't eat beans. I don't do this. I don't like tomatoes. Everybody, it was like, a 5-star restaurant. And finally, I was just like, you know what? Y'all are old enough to cook spaghetti. You know how to make eggs. You know how to do whatever. Every able body can cook food for themselves because you guys, are in your 20s, 19, 18, 20. So that's what my pet peeve was. It was like a family pet peeve.
You did mention that. I saw the whole interview. You mentioned it in there about the cookie. So I want you, someone, Dana Shea. Hey, Dana. She said, wow, you made the right choice. Family first, of course, regarding 9/11. And some people didn't know, a lot of people didn't know this, and it was devastating, all of that. And it took us right back, when you were sharing your story. So you came full circle, as we mentioned earlier, and you returned to Hampton Roads and to WTKR, which is where your career started, as you shared earlier, your initial co-host. So I've watched Coast Live. I love the animals, by the way. I know you only get a week of that. I love the animals. Love the animals. Good. So Coast Live, you celebrate food, fun, and flair within Hampton Roads and worldwide, because I like how you bring guests in your studio by way of satellite through the TV or the monitor. So what do you absolutely love about our area?
Oh gosh, I love the people because, I got a chance, and you may not know this, I started at Channel 3 right out of college. So I worked there for like 4 years, and then I went to Seattle, and then I went to New York, and then I came back home. So going to Seattle and other places made me realize that people were very different at home, good or bad. And I just like the fact that, when I go to Home Depot, I know I'm going to see somebody's going to call me, April Wilson or whatever. And, I think I love how real it is. I love the water. I love all of the things that are beautiful about this area. Botanical Garden, Norfolk State is beautiful. Hampton University right on the water. So I love so many different things, and you can do so many different things. The other day we went horseback riding, things that I didn't really do when I was in New York, although they have those available. I guess I was just so busy, I didn't get a chance to take them in. So I just love that. I love, when Miss So-and-so sees me at the grocery store and she's like, "Hey, April, can I get a picture?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." I try to look my best. Sometimes I got a baseball hat on and I'm like, "How'd you even know?" I'm trying to hide. But I just love that. And I love that people know me from before, and there's still people who know, like my dad and my mom, my mom is still living, and tell me stories or share stories about them that I didn't know. So that just it just warms my heart, and it just makes me feel very positive that they have had the impact in the area that they did, and then I'm trying to continue the legacy that they started.
You definitely could continue the legacy. We're gonna get to that later, especially with the mom and the dressing, girl, because you got it. So we'll get to that. We always do a personal question at the end, and that was my personal question for you.
Okay.
But what advice do you have for college students in their path to journalism?
Yeah. Well, I think that don't be limited by what people say. I would be considered an old head because of my age, but I guess my thinking isn't old head. And there's some old school people who believe like you can only do this and this is what you can only do and you can't do that. And, don't go in those areas, or don't really talk about what it is that is what you really want to do. And I have some students that are kind of going through it, some mentees that are kind of going through it. And I just think, create your own path. Know that it may not have been done before, and know that some people are just very limited in their thinking. Don't share everything with everybody. That's one thing I learned from my daddy and my husband and everything. Don't always show all your cards. And I've gone through that where I've shown my cards, and unfortunately it's come back to haunt me. But keep it private, keep your group small, make sure you're with people who support you and are really on your team. If you don't think they're on your team, they probably are not. And I found that throughout my career, even starting here in Norfolk, and even as recent as a few years ago, realized not just in journalism, but everything, that people are not on your team. And so, I think you have to keep people close, be inspired by frenemies. People who are haters can inspire you, put it in perspective. And one quote that I always say from Maya Angelou is, listen to what people say they are when they first tell you. That's not how she said it. She didn't say it that way, but
when people show you who they are,
I don't tell you who they are, right? Believe them the first time, Dr. Angelou. And I had a chance to meet her and interview her. She is amazing, was amazing on several occasions. But and she told me that, and she also shared with me a quote that I don't know that she is printed, but she said, "April, bow down to no man, and bow down only to God." I think I have to look it up because I did write it down. She said, "You won't need to write it down." I was like, "Miss Angelou, I think I should write it down." She was like, "No, you'll remember it." And I did remember, but right here on the spot, I need to refer to my notes. But she says, those were really inspirational quotes. And I grew up with my mom, having us look at poetry and Langston Hughes and all of those things, and the Bible. And so there's so many stories that are in there that can give you the answers that you're looking for. And keep a relationship with God. I would suggest that to my students too. I don't push them on it because I don't want to be, that auntie. Right. But I also say, do you believe? Okay. And I've had students come into my office and say, "Professor Woodard, will you pray for me?" And, if they ask, I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. And so just having a relationship and having faith, believing in a higher being, believing that you are called, and finding out what you're called to do.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's the foundation for Girlfriends Tea. Proverbs 18:24. One who wants friends must show himself or herself to be friendly.
Right.
And that's what we do on Girlfriends Tea. We show, we genuinely do. It's what I enjoy. I enjoy connecting people. People are connecting with you now. So they get that warm and fuzzy when they're on Girlfriends Tea. I want my guests to always feel welcome and safe. No frenemy here, no question that you don't want to ask. I don't do that. But I've had people who's, traumatized on my show ask me not to do that. And I said, no, I don't do that. So I want to make sure that we take care of business for you because you're also a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
So which areas do you consult in so everyone can know?
All right. So I do media consulting. So I do crisis communications. I've done counseling or coaching for major, any of the companies that you can think of, major companies, people in HR, people who are, dealing with a crisis. I do that. And that really grew during COVID because no one could travel, no one could get anywhere, but I was able to pivot and do my coaching online. So I coached, some major corporations out there, individuals as well who needed.
Take your time, honey. Take your time. We're loving this. Take your time.
Who needed advice, whether it was the first time they were going to be on TV or they had, some stuff that was coming up, how to pivot and handle situations when you have something not so good coming out, getting ahead of it. The same thing that I kind of teach my students when I'm dealing with strategic communications. So that's an area that I do. And then people who want to be on TV, who want to be coached or who have never done TV or have never done the internet or streaming and want to feel more comfortable hosting their own shows or podcasts, etc. And then I also do podcasting. I'm a creative, so I create storylines or create content for people. And marketing as well. Comes my husband, his background is brand strategy. So really having our production company, Favor Multimedia, is, all of the years of experience that I have had, 30 more in media, and his experience that he's had from counseling to preaching to brand strategy to architecture to music, all of those areas, the Lord has brought us together and created Favor Multimedia, which we've had since 2000. So that's another area that we do strategy and consulting in.
And the fact that both of you, how you married together because you complement each other. Thank you. With the branding and the media, you complement each other very well, professionally and personally, because y'all are hilarious. When y'all are together. Just a nice, warm and fuzzy. So I'm going to ask this, girlfriend. Who styles your hair? Come on, somebody.
Oh, wow.
That hair is always laid, April, Woodard.
I had to do it myself because it was a little off today. But I have multiple people that I work with because my schedule is so crazy. Like if I call somebody today and say, hey, girl, can you hook me up or can you do it tomorrow? I have my girl, Nisha, who always answers the call, always is able to help me. Dervell is my main stylist, and he's in Virginia Beach. By Dervell, he got me to go platinum blonde. He, took me to areas that I thought I could never go. And then my girlfriend at G Patton, Sabrina, she is also a person who does my color and somebody I can always get into. See, I don't want to make them too popular because then I won't be able to get any appointments.
We're going to find them. See, she just named the names, y'all. We're going to have to get the info.
Yeah, Dervell and Nisha and Sabrina. Those are my main three people that I work with, and they're wonderful. And, they're counselors too. You always got to go in and be like, girl, do you know what happened today? But my company is named Favor Multimedia Incorporated. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go through my website, you can find I am Favor Multimedia. You can find me.
Okay, so it is I am Favor Multimedia.
No, I'm saying
you are. That's right.
My website.
AprilWoodard.com.
Yeah, if you go through aprilwoodard.com, you can reach out to me and we can connect you with individuals who will work with Favor Multimedia, my husband and I, and a team.
Excellent. Well, I ran into your mom at my doctor's office. I sent you a picture. I don't know if you saw it, but I ran into her sharp as a tack
Huh?
still. She's got it going on. And I saw you do a birthday shout out to her, saying you would see her later when you're on Coast Live and you're
Uh-huh.
picking her up. But tell us how she's doing.
She's doing well. My mom is 92. And, she just now is wearing kitten heels. And I'm like, Mommy, you don't even have to wear kitten heels. Just wear flats. Let's put you in a wheelchair if we need to. And then you can walk the rest of the way. Don't spend your time, walking long distances. We went to go see, we were at the Forum, the Norfolk Forum, and they had her stand up and they had one of her outfits on display for being kind of a fashion icon in the Hampton Roads area. And I got it honest. I mean, this woman made me like shoes from the time that I could walk. And I used to play in her closet at 3 and I would walk around in her high heels. So, and I find as I get older and older, I keep picking out clothes and I'm like, this is so Lucy. This is so Lucy. This is so Lucy. But not just a fashion woman, but a really smart woman. Dr. Lucy Wilson is my mom, and she worked at Old Dominion. She was the first Black woman on the chairman of the board, the school board in Norfolk during tough times of busing, and made national news. And then she wrote all of my daddy's speeches. So let's keep it real. So anything my daddy said that sounded really good, Dr. Lucy Wilson wrote it. She was a wordsmith and made me interested in writing as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
April, I am honored. I love it. Thank you so much. We're doing great on time. The girlfriends are getting ready to come back in. I know Myra has a comment for you.
Okay.
So come on in the room, girlfriend.
Hey, girlfriend.
Myra, I'm going to remove this gray in here so that we can see you. Give me a minute, Myra. There you go, girlfriend. Okay, I'm bringing in Pam, and I'm waiting on Joyce to come back with us. She's not on camera yet. But Myra, go ahead. You had a comment. You're on mute, dear. Go ahead. You're on mute, Myra. Myra, can you unmute? Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to piggyback on Joyce when she first made her first hello to you, that she was a fan of Coast Live. I wanted to tell you, I'm also a fan, but my husband, he is a bigger fan than me.
Yeah, that is amazing because, if you look at the stats, it's mostly women, but like the men who like say, hey, because, if I'm at Home Depot, there are a lot of men, they'll be like, hey, April, so I appreciate that.
Wherever he is in the house, when he hears it on the TV, he's like, is that April?
That's great.
His name is Joe. His name is Joe. Okay, his name is Joe. But my comment that I put over in the chat was that you and I worked together. You probably don't remember. It was at Norfolk State University, Lyman Beecher Brooks Library when you were.
Okay, I do remember. That was like my first or second job because I worked in a bookstore too.
Right, when you were a student. And I said, I remember you in the circulation department, and we worked in the back. So nobody saw us. We worked in technical services, but I did used to see you when I went out to in the front to file. I would see you at the front desk. So I just wanted to let you know that, hey, former coworker.
Hey, coworker. Yes, I learned so much. First, and it's so funny because my dad made sure that we worked. I mean, I had my first job, I think at 15 or maybe even younger. And the library was one of the first places that I worked. And, there was nothing going on in the library. I think he did it strategically because it's quiet. Ain't a lot of boys coming in there. Maybe, now hindsight is bright. But what I learned, I didn't understand the whole library system. I fell in love with books there, fell in love with the people there. And it was a really good experience. I will tell you a funny thing. I did not know that I was not getting paid like everybody else. And so I was like, how come they're getting their checks and I'm not getting my check? And then my sister was like, Daddy's paying you, you dummy. And I was like, and I was like,
hilarious.
Is that true? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not really an employee, so there you go.
Hilarious. Well, April, Dana Shea Williams said, nice seeing you, Pastor Dana. And you like her. She said, nice seeing you this morning. So Pam, what would you like to share? And then I'll go to Joyce.
Well, I just want to say I've really enjoyed the interview. It feels like I want to say it's really nice to meet you, up close and personal. used to go to a Zumba class with me at the YMCA. Well, we were in the same class when Dwayne was teaching, the one, in Portsmouth. And
yeah.
yeah,
He was tearing. I couldn't keep up, y'all.
I know. Oh,
I was like, okay. I tried to drag my daughter. She couldn't keep up. We
Yeah.
were like, oh my God.
So yeah, the closest I would do was just turn around and wave. You would wave like, hey, and then we had to concentrate on the class. But I really enjoyed the interview, and like I said, it's good to meet you and see you as a person,
Thank you.
and hear your story. It's an outstanding story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Really great advice.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Excellent. So now we're going to hear from Joyce. Go ahead, Joyce.
Okay, well, I echo what the other ladies have said, Pam and Myra, and I'm a morning fan. Every whenever I don't see you up there, it chats. When he's saying that you're not there, it's like, oh, okay. But he's doing a great job too. But anyway,
Usually I get a call from my mom. Are you okay? Why aren't you on TV today? I hope she remembered I wasn't on today. So otherwise I'll have a call and say, what's going on?
yeah, that's what I heard this morning too. But I tell you, I've just admired you for years. It's good to meet you up close and personal. And I enjoyed this conversation today. And I thank Sabrina for having you on. And I for years, I've looked that look that you have with your hair. I love it.
Thank you.
And when I tune in the mornings, I said, what is she wearing today? You're so stylish. You're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Personality goes right along with it. And then I love it also when your husband comes in sometimes to co-host.
Oh, yeah.
Occasionally, and anyway, I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yes.
And I don't know whether I'll be helping Sabrina with her changing when she comes on Thursday. I might try to get a peek when I help her with all of her supplies going back and forth.
Okay.
But anyway, you're a blessing to this community.
Thank you.
And I just appreciate you so much. I enjoyed hearing, and I too enjoyed hearing your story. So much I didn't know, but I'm glad that I was here this morning to hear that, and thank you for the encouragement and inspiration. Thank you too, Sabrina.
So much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And April, I want to let you know that Slater Joel, everybody knows Slater Joel. He says he strolled and saw two of his favorites, Sabrina and April. Hey, y'all.
Yeah, he's a friend of the show. He's on Coast Live singing.
Yeah. Oh, he was on Coast Live. I missed that. I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna find you.
Okay.
That's a singing man. So last but not least, Gerald Collins. She has a comment for you that she's 32 years in NSU, now contracting, but she met you through your sister Jennifer when she would work
in HR. Right, but she was a real employee because she got a real check.
Love it.
I mean, I got money. It was just coming from my dad. I was like, huh?
I'm so sorry, April.
Well, April, we have got to have you back on Girlfriends Tea at your convenience. We just love you, and I love everything about what you do, the wholesomeness, exalting Christ, all of that, and marriage, that you're grounded in marriage. And I want to say, I saw Janelle Riddick, that she's pastored or ministered at your church, and I know T.L. Chisholm. So I said, I see some people that I know. So go to their site, everyone. Okay. Go to their site, favournation.org, and then look up April at aprilwoodard.com and patronize her for her consulting services. So what do we do, girlfriends? We're going to do what? We're going to christen you, April.
Oh,
girlfriends.
So now you're officially a girlfriend, honey.
Welcome.
Fire on Girlfriends Tea.
Love it.
So we love you. God bless you. Continue to keep up the good work. I'm going to try to get these last two comments in.
Okay.
Somebody else says they remember your ballet, taking ballet.
Oh, yeah, Tidewater Ballet. Yeah, because see, I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to dance at Alvin Ailey or DTH, Dance Theater Harlem. So, hey, Sharon.
Yes, Sharon. Yes, I didn't see her name at first. I said somebody, but this person I don't know. This has been such a blessing and funny at the same time. So for that person, click on the StreamYard link so that whenever you comment, everyone will see your comment. Okay, Sharon Coon is who she used to be. Coon. God bless you, April.
God bless you.
All right, God bless you. Bye, girlfriend.
Okay.
Bye, girlfriend.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ladies. I gotta run my I gotta find a commercial. Bye.
Okay.